Notes of Truth with Julie Carrick. Here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and this morning on Notes of Truth, Julie is going to be talking on the creative process on songwriting. Happy First Friday, Julie.
Thank you. You know, there's something beautiful about First Fridays to get that focus in and realize who and why we honor what we do with our Lord and the gifts He's given us. And I love that our producer, Tim, nudged just a little bit to say, hey, what about this songwriting? I love it. So for me, the process is, it's very interesting depending on what I'm writing about and where that focus comes from. So I'll give you a couple of the songs that have really been heart-touching ones. The song Mercy, that was written many, many years ago. In that particular one, I was spending more time, a lot of time in Eucharistic adoration, I'll put it that way. And one of the issues that was happening in my life is I was having a personal internal pity party, because at that time we had children in 3 different levels of school: high school, middle school, grade school. My husband was working for the Department of Public Safety. He was also finishing another higher level degree as an adult student. And I was working part-time at a parish and part-time in ministry. And my pity party was like, oh, this, on the totem pole of life, I'm somewhere below the family beagle, right? So when I was in adoration, it was like, oh, poor me, poor me. And what was kind of crazy is it was 3:00 in the morning on a Wednesday. That was my time. And as I sat there with the Lord that morning, I'm pouring out my heart to Him. I heard this interior voice that was and this is literally what I heard. My dear, my darling daughter, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I was like, what? That is not what I want to hear. Like, I want to hear, oh, it's going to be all better. And no, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But then, literally, as I'm sitting there, He also touched into my heart that said, but my mercy is going to hold you through this process of life. My mercy is going to lift you when you feel like you're falling. It's going to help you. I mean, all of a sudden, I literally it came to me as a rush, like all of the lyric, all of the music, to the point that, I was so new in the, writing and all of that, that I felt like I wouldn't even be able to write it all down. It was coming so fast. And that was highly unusual, to have music and lyric and the meter of the music, everything just coming together. So I'll just do a little tease. So if you go to Julie Carrick YouTube, type in Mercy and listen to that song, have a Kleenex. It's amazing. It just was like given to me by the Lord. So that's unusual, but it happens on occasion. So then another song that kind of gives a different focus of how the writing process works is the song Kateri. And Kateri is actually a song about adoption. And the reason that I wrote that song is I was watching a family member, my incredible sister, who's given me permission to share her story. She, as a senior in high school, placed an infant daughter for adoption. And to see the choice that she made for life and to place this incredible gift of life with another family, and not a family she knew. It was a closed adoption, and her precious baby daughter was placed for adoption. And then fast forward a few years, a very, very dear friend of mine and her husband, they struggled with infertility, and we watched them go through the process of adopting their daughter. So they have an infant daughter that they adopted, and to see the perspective of both families, of my sister who placed her daughter, and then watching a family of this couple who had struggled, as I said, with infertility. Here they are adopting a daughter, and to see the way that life was given to both of these women, their families, and to be able to take their stories and blend them into one beautiful piece of music, and then to let the the process of the writing complete and then to do the recording. I'll never forget, like I can see it right now like it was yesterday. I'm singing my part in the studio. The band members have all learned their parts that they're playing. And when I started to sing the line of that song where it says, she grew in my womb as she grew in your heart. And then on the flip, she grew in my heart as she grew in your womb. This perspective of adoption. Oh my gosh, I looked up and the guys that were, playing along, they had tears running down their faces. Like it was the most emotional. And then because you're in the studio and you're trying to hold it together and make this beautiful music, but not get lost too much, my producer says, now we're digging where there's taters. So he just brought this lightness back to it so that everyone could kind of keep the focus and keep working. So that's kind of two extreme differences of when it's written and how it's written. And one more example, because it really helps to see like the ones that you hear as lyric and music together, the one that you write the lyric for first, and then you feel the way the music comes, and then the instrumentation makes its way into it. But it's the song Woman of Sorrow, Woman of Joy. And I wanted to share our Mama Mary's life. I wanted to share in a contemporary and real way. Now, these are not songs that you're ever going to hear at church because they're not liturgical. We'll do another episode on that one sometime. But these are songs that you listen to any other day of the week, right? And when I wanted to do this very special project for Mama Mary and to really show her heart with these, the extreme joys and the extreme sorrows that she went through, that one, just to kind of take her life and to write it into these beautiful stanzas of storytelling of who she is. And at the same time, as I was writing the music for it, my brain was almost on an overload because I could hear everything. I could hear the bass, I could hear the uprights, I could hear the strings, I could hear this beautiful soprano sax that was going to be kind of this counter melody that was going through it. And it's jazz. I mean, it's complete jazz. Like it's the most beautiful, just gorgeous, gorgeous, heart-wrenching jazz music. Woman of Sorrow, Woman of Joy. And I remember the moment in the studio, we had laid down all of the tracks for piano and guitar and percussion, and we had this beautiful acoustic bass. And then I recorded my vocals and I went through and just recorded them fully. We had a couple of background vocalists who came in and did some harmonies on it. And then finally the moment, the last instrument to come in was that soprano sax, who just plays and weaves it together like a final stitching when you've made a quilt. And then that final process of quilting is that final stitching together. That's what that soprano sax did in that piece. And when Sam Levine started playing that, I was like overwhelmed to tears because from the second I wrote the first lyric, I could hear what that soprano sax was going to play. Like I could hear it. And there's actually a really fun project on my YouTube channel. It's called The Making of Lend Me Your Heart. And it's about an hour long. And it literally takes you through the process of writing, recording, what gets recorded first, and then who does their vocals next and all of this. But I remember the second that we did that piece in the studio, and I was like, this is the moment. Like, this is the moment. I knew when I worked on this project. And it was just like amazing to hear each of the gifts that each of these phenomenal musicians, whether it's the studio that I use in Nashville or Brick Road here in Scottsdale, actually, for vocal recording. But that moment of hearing it all together. And here's what's crazy. It finally takes it out of my head and puts it out here. So you, as a writer, as a composer, as a person who sings, it's amazing that, okay, so this is probably why some of the early composers went mad, because when you hear it in your head, you hear all of the instrumentation. Like I can hear every bit of it in my head, but until it's recorded and it's taken out of my head and out here where my ear can hear it, it like doesn't go away. So once the recording is done, and I remember when my husband joined the ministry full time, because I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars to do these recordings, right? And so once it's recorded, I'm all done with it, because now it's outside of my head and it's out here. I'm like, wow, I'm sure glad that one's done. But then comes the process of touring the record and touring, all of the reasons that you did the writing to begin with. And so yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
How much of a song is you yourself, and how much is it something that you've received?
It really depends on which of the songs. So a lot of it is me. One of the pieces, it's called Grace. And that song is it was a song of healing after my husband and I had gone through a very painful thing in our marriage. And when we came out the other side of it, and we realized that we needed that grace of forgiveness in order to truly be whole. One of the lines in that song, my broken heart, I'm literally singing about my broken heart. And as we were, earlier with Debbie and Adam talking about anger, one of the things that's in there was that it would be very easy for my heart to be hardened. And a hardened heart cannot heal. It can't help you heal. You have to have a soft heart. And so in that song, Grace, you literally hear the fullness of that story between the two of us and how that grace of God allowed the healing. And then the instrumentation lends itself to give the emotion that you've been working on in the lyric. But it's really me. I mean, it's me within the lyric and the music. So yeah.
Very cool.
Thanks for asking, Tim.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a great question. Yeah. Well, hey, make sure to tune in to tomorrow for Julie's show, We Sing Our Faith. That's 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Julie. And that does it for the first hour of Morning Joy, where truth matters. Now, if you aren't able to stay with us for the remainder of the morning, make sure to find and follow us on social media. Just search Morning Joy Radio or simply GRN Online, as that is who produces the show. But coming up Monday, we're going to be joined once again by Monsignor Charles Pope. He's going to be talking about how Scripture guides us in situations, kind of like the recent scandal with Father Rupnik, which we're going to be talking about shortly. But hey, stay tuned. All right, if you're parting with us, though, God bless. Make it a joyful weekend. Otherwise, we'll see you right back after this quick break.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.